Welcome to ALPS in Brief, the ALPS Risk Management Podcast. We're recording here at ALPS home office in the historic Florence Building in downtown Missoula, Montana. I'm Mark Bassingthwaighte, the ALPS Risk Manager, and I have the pleasure of sitting down today with ALPS Claims Attorney John Ries. John, before we get into some discussions here, can you tell our audience just briefly a little bit of your background here at ALPS?
I've been here 8 years, and before that I was in private practice in Washington State for about 5 years. And then before that I was in Oregon as a prosecuting attorney.
Ah, interesting. Very good. Very good. Both of us, in terms of the roles that we're in, get some common questions, which is just concerning, I think I might have made a mistake. There's a problem out here. Sort of what happens? What do I need to do? What should I do? So the idea today is just to have some discussions about sort of the claims process. If I am an attorney and I'm concerned that a mistake has happened, can you kind of talk me through just what the basic reporting requirements are? When do I need to report this? How do I, you see where I'm going? It's just, I don't even know.
Yeah, we have in the past, and this is changing starting next year, we have in the past asked for attorneys to give us notice as soon as reasonably possible.
Okay.
And like all attorneys, reasonable is up for interpretation.
Right.
So now we've changed that, or we are changing it to immediately notify us.
Okay.
But basically, I always tell attorneys when they call, inevitably they'll say, I wasn't sure if I should report this or not, because it's not a claim yet. Sometimes there are claims, they're just flat out, I missed the statute,
Right.
I had to tell my client.
Of course.
But sometimes, it's a little more in the gray area. I've just lost a summary judgment motion. Is that a claim? Or I may have forgotten to list an expert. Is that a claim? And so I always advise people that it is a claim as soon as you think it's a claim. If you're thinking about whether or not to report it, you should just default and automatically report it.
Yeah.
And not wait and see if it develops into an actual malpractice claim. Because there's a lot of problems. If you wait, there's always the problem that down the road, someone will accuse you of having knowledge of it and not telling ALPS.
Right. Yeah.
And nobody wants to fight over that. ALPS doesn't want to, and we'd rather you just tell us up front, and it doesn't hurt you any, so you might as well tell us as soon as you think it's a possible claim.
Right. I mean, a takeaway for me here is, some people just assume I don't have a claim until I've been sued, and that's not really what this is about. It's about awareness, and I like, the people. If you have questions or concerns, just call us. We'll sit down and work through it. And I think, just as a side note, we don't open everything that is reported as a claim.
Right.
Would you explain that just briefly?
Yeah, we have the choice. Sometimes someone will call in and it's clearly not a claim or even a potential claim.
Uh-huh.
And so we don't even open anything. We just put a note in the file. Other times, it's maybe many years down the road, it could turn into a claim or not. And we'll open those as circumstances.
Okay.
And a circumstance, we don't report it to, when you go to another insurance company, heaven forbid, we don't report those. And so it's just an internal notation. And if it does develop into a claim, we can turn it into a claim down the road. But it's just an internal, we call them circumstances. Sometimes you'll see that some insurance companies say, we don't require you to report circumstances. And so basically what they're saying is, we don't require, you notify us of things that are not actual claims, which we think is problematic, and so that's why we ask you to report even potential claims, what we call circumstances.
And it seems to me the value of that is we're just going to pin down coverage.
Yeah.
And we've
exactly.
taken care of our reporting requirements just in case,
right.
It's a little muddy. So, okay. So I've had a call with you, or someone has chatted with me, and the decision is, okay, this is something that should be reported. How is there a formal process that I need to go through to formally report a claim?
We require it in writing. We don't have a form. A lot of people call and ask, is there a form we have to fill out?
Right.
There's no form. Oftentimes it's best you just call us first, and we'll kind of give you an idea of what we want.
Okay.
So you're not sitting down and writing a 10-page letter that doesn't really help us that much. we just require written notice. That just basically puts us on notice of what the issues are. So it has what has been missed, what's being alleged, who the client is, when did this happen. So it could be as short as a paragraph, depending on what the error is, or potential error.
So you're talking about writing. Can I do this even via email?
Email's fine. Fax, email, regular mail.
Okay, very good. Now, you and I both know that we get these questions a lot, too. Are you guys going to raise my rates? You know, this kind of thing. Is there an impact? What happens? How does ALPS deal with the fact that a claim has been reported, and when we think about underwriting rates, those kinds of things going forward?
Yeah, there's no impact on your rates, future rates, for just reporting claims.
Okay.
In fact, there's probably, I would consider it to be more of a benefit to you as far as underwriting, that you're more cautious than the average person. If you call in something that's maybe not a claim, at least it shows that you're thinking about the issue. Which is much better than the other way. If you call us 6 months after the claim has been made.
Right.
So it's, if anything, I think it helps your future rates. There's no formula that really takes it into consideration. It all goes into the black magic of underwriting, but there's no direct impact on your rates.
So what I'm hearing is, if I report a claim, you guys do your thing in claims and provide excellent customer service, and the claim goes away. I'm successfully defended. I'm hearing that that's really not going to be a problem. But how about, okay, I've blown a statute and there is a significant loss here. Let's say there's a $300,000 loss, and I don't know, 50 grand or something in defense costs, these kinds of things. Is that a similar outcome, or what happens rate-wise there?
Yeah, the first thing that happens is there's a surcharge. Anything over $30,000 is surcharged.
Whether it's loss or defense?
Loss or expense.
Okay.
So that covers I don't know what the exact number is, but the majority of claims are probably in the surcharge level. A fair number don't ever get to that high of a number. It's we can resolve them for next to nothing, or nothing at all. So the ones that go over 30,000, the surcharge is relatively small. It's half the basic rate, which is $1,900. So it's a $950 surcharge, but that's added into the formula midway through. So the final numbers could be higher than that.
Okay. Are there any obligations that I have under a policy when a claim arises? I mean,
well, the only real obligation is you have to report it.
Okay.
And it will be that when the new policies go into effect beginning next year, you have to immediately notify ALPS as soon as you become aware of a potential or actual claim. So that's your only requirement, is to immediately notify us. All of the claims attorneys have cell phones. We take calls 24 hours a day. So there's really no reason. Sometimes people say, oh, this came in over the weekend. You can call us on the weekend.
I get that I need to report the claim, but how about as you handle the claim and go through the process? Do I have obligations along those lines?
Yeah, you have to. The first thing that we'll tell you after you report the claim, if it is a claim, it's not just a potential claim or circumstance, we'll ask for a complete copy of your file. And so that'll be the first, probably the biggest task you have as an insured, is copying a file.
Right. Which underscores the importance of file maintenance and keeping files. But
yeah, and it depends. Some people or some firms or some attorneys have a lot better record-keeping procedures than others. So for some people, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
They could just hit a button, copy it to a memory stick, mail it to us. Other people, the banker box is scattered through several offices. Papers are loose. They're different sizes. So I understand that's a bigger task. And some files are just plain huge. They can take, a whole room. So if that's the case, sometimes we can limit it down, or limit the request. Just give us the pleadings for now, or just give us the correspondence for now, and then we'll just enough to get us going. Or I guess the flip side would be if we usually err on the side of just getting everything. It's just like when you get a new claim or a new case as a lawyer, you want all the information, or in discovery, you want all the information. You don't want just what little bits that they give you. So if there's too much there, we'll let you know, and we can send it back, or just tell you not to send it to us to begin with.
And do you prefer that digitally?
It's a lot easier for us if it's
Yeah.
digitally. Sometimes I guess the downside of digitally, sometimes people copy a file, if there's several hundred thousands, multiples of thousands of pages, if it just goes from 1 to 10,000, it's a little hard to sort through, but we manage it.
Imagine that one.
Yeah, it happens a lot, so we've gotten pretty good at going through and sorting it out.
Okay.
And most files are even I'd say poorly kept. Some files are better kept than others, but all files have some natural order to them. Pleadings, correspondence, notes, so you can there's a predictable outcome to each one.
Going back to this sort of example of blowing a statute or something, I realize, oh my gosh, I really have made a mistake here, a misstep here, and this is going to be a malpractice claim. Do you have any thoughts or advice that you would share in terms of what do I do with my client? Should I just run out, fall on my sword, and say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll make it right? I mean, what is your advice to kind of walk through that issue of client information or management?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Knock on wood, I never had to deal with that when I was in private practice, so I can understand that's a difficult situation, and you want to. I think most attorneys really want to tell their client, "I'll make it right." They feel bad, if there's a missed statute of limitations, for example, they feel bad inevitably. They know it. I mean, even if it's any error, I guess the attorney feels bad. Then the next question is, well, how do I communicate that to the insured,
right,
or not to the client? And I guess we all tell the insureds that you can be honest with them and tell them that the mistake was made. The only thing you can't do is tell them that the insurance company will pay you a certain amount, or that the insurance company will fix it somehow. You have to limit it to just, I made a mistake. Here's what the error was. You can't say, and you've been damaged in the amount of X dollars, and just call up John and he'll cut you the check on Monday. So there's a statute in the policy. It requires the insured to cooperate with ALPS, and part of that is to not undertake any debts or any obligations with your client. Okay. So you have to, within that limitation though, you can pretty much tell your client anything that you feel is necessary, that you feel bad, you wish it had never happened. All of that's fine. It will come back in your deposition, so you have to be aware of that. That if you say that you feel bad and you wish it never happened, you'll be asked about that. So keep that in mind. But I think the best advice is just to tell them as succinctly as possible. I've made an error. Your case is no longer viable. I've reported this to my insurance carrier. Please call, and here's the claim number. Please call him or her as soon as you can. Yeah. And that's good enough.
Well, my takeaway here is, not to be afraid. If I am concerned that I've made a misstep, just to call and talk to the people that are experienced at handling these kinds of things. And you will work with any of the attorneys calling in to try to understand, is this reportable or not, explain how the process works. And the other takeaway that I have here is, hey, if I am afraid I've made a mistake, I want to call ALPS first and have some discussions about how to handle this, because I could get into some trouble in terms of just coverage issues and these kinds of things. If I want to be informed, in other words. So for those of you listening, anytime a claim comes up, I would just, call John and he'll take you through the process. Well, John, thank you very much for spending a little time. Thanks to all of you for listening to our show. If any of you happen to have any questions about the issues we've discussed today, please don't hesitate to contact me at mbass@alpsnet.com. We'd love your feedback on the podcast, including other issues you'd like to hear us cover. Thanks again. It's been a pleasure.